Good evening, everyone. Good morning, wherever it is you're watching us from. Welcome to the Big Picture on African Uncensored. I am your host, Justine Wanda, and today you can see Tom and Jonathan Namu are clearly missing because they decided to abandon me, and I am okay because I have been abandoned before. This is a great time to introduce our panelists today because they abandoned me but left me in great company. With me today in studio is Nerima Wako, who's the executive director of Siasa Place. And a little bit about Siasa Place. It's an incredible institution. I can call it an institution? Yes, that educates the youth on political processes, the electoral process, the constitution, government institutions and its functions. And you've done an incredible job. You have like 131 million impressions. Mnasikia numbers, eh? And Nerima is also like has a Bachelor of Arts in Journalism and Sociology, from Jacksonville State University. And she has a master's in public administration, so she knows what she's talking about. Welcome to the show, Nerima. Lazima nisome accolades, unajua watu we si mtu wa kuchezea. And also we do have Diana. Diana is an empathetic leader. Sindio? I'm getting that right? An empathetic leader, yes. And you're a human rights advocate. She's an astute campaigner for everything on human rights with 10 years of experience in the field. She's worked in human rights, economic rights, social rights and development. And you're also like a mobilizer and a fundraiser, so you know how to make sure people are properly resourced for the things that they need. And lastly, you have advocated for marginalized and vulnerable groups, including women, displaced stateless persons, gender and sexual minorities, and persons with disabilities. And Diana says she's always ready to raise her voice. Welcome to the show, Diana.
Thank you very much, Justine.
Nimebidi nisome like Buffo Bando mjue. Today we have like proper professionals, unlike this government. We have brought people who actually know what they're talking about. So today's discussion is it's a little bit of a hard place we are as a country. We have seen that the free education is being removed. But then also the president is like, no, the free education is here to stay because it's a constitutional right, but like, where's the money? So just to start us off, this particular situation we find ourselves in as a country, what does free education mean to you? To both of you, what does free education mean to you? Not just historically, but in this particular moment.
In this particular moment. So I find that question difficult because even when you look at the state of public schools and institutions, you would hope that free education also means access to resources, access to having an equal opportunity to succeed in life. But we know that right now that's not what that means, especially for this administration, it's going to say regime, especially for them coming into power and saying, we are for the Hustler Fund, we are for Mama Mboga. So free education is Mama Mboga's children have access to elevate their lives so that they can, move up a ladder when it comes to class and opportunity and access. But that's not what we're seeing. And even when you look at the state of our classrooms, there's tons of pictures of people learning under trees. There's some institutions that I've been to in Kakamega, for instance. That school was built in 1920. And the
Pause. You said, can you just say the year again so people like understand? You didn't say not 2020?
I am very serious. There is a school in Kakamega County built in 1920 by colonizers, made of mud steel. They had received resources to extend and put another administration block, but we know what the MP did there. They didn't see the resource, and we're seeing children learning basically on dusty floors, no toilet access, small kitchens. You're talking about hundreds of children Some of them don't even have school uniforms because they can't afford it, and no books. That's the state of education right now.
That is terrifying, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Diana, what does free education mean to you?
Free education means Kenya leads the region in terms of literacy. Free education is the reason we have Gen Zs who question from a very informed perspective. Why? If you're born in 2002, this year you're how old? 23?
23, yeah.
That's properly the Gen Z. They're the ones, if you're born, then you found free primary education. If you're even 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, you're joining primary, you're 30.
Yes.
You benefited significantly from free basic, primary and secondary. This show is being shot somewhere in Lavington. Around here, there are a number of private schools. I won't even mention them. The average fee for schools around here per year, is it safe to say on the lower side, 240,000?
That's
Per term or per year?
Per year.
a year.
Then higher.
Thereabout.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you move around the Nairobi metropolitan, then you could be working with, because there are people who go to private schools that can provide everything, but there are people who are so frustrated by the failure of government to fund free primary education. So you go to schools that are in between. You're okay with the structure, the class size being 50, not 20, 19, as would be in this area. But there, the average fee is anything between 60 and 90 per year. When you have free education, the capitation has been 16,000. It means our taxes are delivering for children the most basic of needs. It is giving them a space to socialize. It is also the space in some parts of this country that children access nutrition. It means the burden of caregiving for most Kenyan parents is alleviated by the government. That is what we want to grab away by force, to grab by force. Now, when they say start contributing, and they keep saying, oh, some people can afford, the bulk of the Kenyans cannot afford that education. That is why 16,000 is very, very important. Way back when I don't like CDF, but I really used to like how Ken Okoth, the late Ken Okoth, used to utilize his CDF in Kibra. The classes around Olympics, all those areas were turned to standards around Lavington. Parents loved him just because you even made the dreams of very poor and vulnerable children change completely. They finally understood that a house can have light. Si kama kwa kina Nerima huko kwao ya Colonial, but that is a dream we are killing. Yes. We are shooting ourselves and our development aspirations because we will go back. We will go back to 30% of children being illiterate. Cumulatively, we will end up with 45% of our population. In the next 10 to 20 years, being illiterate. We've taken so much pride in our literacy levels. Why would we want to take that away?
I love that you said that because there's a lot of numbers that I want to get through, but one of the most impressive statistic over the last couple of years is just how many kids have actually been able to go to school. We're looking at over numbers of over 50%, just slightly over 50% of students being able to go to transition from primary school to secondary school, which is a big deal. It's not something that was happening before, but because of the free primary education and the continued capitation of this particular sector, we've seen that kind of transition. In the 70s, the country subsidized education on all levels, not just primary school. It was also for secondary school and also university, and it was evolved to like a cost sharing approach, which is still there, which means the government pays a certain amount of money, and then the school also pays, the parent also pays a certain amount of money, usually less than they would be paying if it's full fees. But we are seeing a problem with these numbers. As much as they're that high, there's still a very big gap in how kids are funded. And I think both of you have shown how this works. So I'll give an example of the school that Nerima was speaking about in Kakamega. You said it was built in 1920. It was barely revamped, but hundreds of kids go there. And the hidden cost of education as it stands right now, a lot of it is underfunded, and like the kids themselves and their parents have to take care of certain costs. So I'll go through the things that they have to kind of subsidize. Enrollment fees, like if the school needs textbooks or exercise books, the uniforms that they're wearing, activity costs for PE and all these things, tuition costs. Sometimes the basic money is not covering it, so they have to top up tuition costs. And then there's exam fees, practical costs. If they're in boarding school, the parent probably will have to pay more for boarding. And then there's healthcare in case the kid is hurt. So in this particular situation, right, what are parents doing to survive this particular system? I would like us to paint some kind of economic picture of how parents are surviving to be able to make sure that the kids get an education. Yes. Diana, would you go past?
Okay, let me just, I don't know, we'll keep walking down memory lane because national schools, I think their annual fee, the contribution of parents is about 60-something thousand. Then extra county, you come to 40 thereabout. But with a diminishing capitation, delays in paying, and then there was a time, other than the fee that is gazetted, schools were not supposed to charge anything else. They cannot charge a parent additional fee. So Parents Association have had to face the reality of what principals of particularly secondary schools go through. And as a result, Justine, I'm a parent of Gen Zs. And to be honest, it is just crazy. When I was in secondary, just being admitted in a public school meant once my mother uses all her credit in SACCO to pay my fee, that is it. I have exercise books, I have textbooks. So the little money I'll earn in the village is for stationery and sanitary ware. Food, everything else is completely covered. A fully furnished library. And that makes
Within the school.
Within the school. No paying for extracurricular. If you're the scientist, if you're into sport, all that is covered for within the fee that your parent pays and the capitation that comes from government. What are schools doing right now? The capitation is not available, so they start by giving you a list. Please buy 32 exercise books, 200 pages. Each book is, what's the cost? Is it 95? I'll confirm. But all of a sudden, just for stationery, writing books to write notes, a parent has to cough 3,500. I attended a meeting in Nakuru where this was introduced, and two parents just raised their hands. They're like, we can't. We have used all our money to pay the school fees. What was the other stopgap measure that was introduced? That parents who can afford, let us now work on textbooks because they are not available. We will buy a screen where we will be using a PowerPoint to showcase, to go through the books. First, that kills our publishing industry. Then secondly, Nerima here, you've had her colleague, she must be very fast in reading than me. So we go at whose pace? Next slide. If you're left behind, what do you use to revise? Nothing. That is how people are coping. Schools, I am sure, are working to raise fee indirectly for fear of being reprimanded using techniques such as uniforms. So uniforms will have a very high margin just so that the schools can survive. Then when you come, that's for both stationary exercise books and textbooks. For practicals in our schools, I do not want to say, I'll allow Nerima, but that's how we are.
That's
coping.
how parents act, like that's what you have to do.
Yes, that is what we've done to us.
That is terrifying. I don't know, Nerima, through your work, how are parents?
So the work that we do, there's a campaign called Msomi Mnyonge. And what Diana is talking about is very, very true. What we saw is parents are left responsible for actually coming with reams of paper. That's a requirement that they have to buy. They say it's for exams, and then your child, they don't even see an exam paper. So you even wonder where that ream of paper went. But there's also activities. There are some children who are paying for sports, and it's not even to buy the uniform or for the, we don't even know what they're paying to what. And we've seen a lot of rogue principals, basically demanding costs to things and then forcing children out of school who don't pay and requiring them to pay the principal directly to allow their child to go back to school. And highlighting some of those instances, we have seen the ministry shuffle some of these individuals, but it's not just a one institution kind of issue. It's across the board. And we've also realized that some parents just stop educating their children.
Yes.
Yes, I know of a mother, she lost her husband and all 4 of her children do not go to school because she's like, he was the breadwinner. I live in Kayole. The kind of work that I do, I can't even afford it for one child. So all of them will stay home with me and we work together. They help me sell avocados. And this is the work that we are all doing to be able to put food on the table. So that's what we're seeing. We're actually seeing a high number of children now being forced out of school because family just cannot keep up and pay. And this is lower primary. Yeah.
That's like all this, because those are not just, it's not one person's story. It's individual stories that then combine and then become an even, it has a bigger domino effect, not just like to the family itself, but to the entire society, to that community, to what they deem as progress on an individual level and also like as a community capacity. So I'll go through like one last statistic before I ask this question. So education capitation moved from 10,000 to 22,000 by 2018 for secondary school enrollment, which is seen as good, but also we have to adjust that for inflation. And also remember that a lot of that money was not going directly to schools because every day we are shuffling. Like it's, every day it's like it has to be moved around for the money to work. And I also saw a chart that said this year's budget put 700 billion for education, right? That sounds like a lot of money. Everyone is like, it's 700 billion, it's a lot of money. And someone was arguing with me on this, and I was like, out of the 700 billion, over 300 billion is going to TSC for salaries and like for hiring teachers. That's if they'll hire teachers. And then the rest of it is kind of distributed between TVET, HELB, free primary education, free secondary education, Palitafika, that is. that's like the suggestion is 700 billion, and then that money is given 50%, and then 30%, and then 20%, right? So through the previous administrations, learners not funded, and the deficit in the budget has been, so like this is the deficit from the year 2018-2019 financial year to 2024-2025. So it was 3.1 billion in 2018-2019, the deficit, then 6.1 billion the next year, 16.1 billion the year after that, 17.3 billion, 17.6, 7.9, and then 15 billion in this financial year. But these numbers, these are very, it's just 15 billion. But what does 15 billion translate to on the ground? What does it look like when a school is not only underfunded, but what happens to that student? And what happens to the institutions, even in of themselves, in trying to retain getting students to come back? What does defunding education in that particular sense look like?
Have you seen the state of TVETs? Like, what it looks like is you have buildings where there's equipment but no instructors. What it looks like is people not being able to keep up with the global market in terms of people are being taught with outdated vehicles, being taught to be mechanics when our cars are moving toward automated, machinery.
More electric.
That uses electric kind of technology. So what we are seeing is people, their time is actually being wasted. And this same institution uses the dining hall as also a meeting room for the students' assembly, as well as a staff room for the teachers. They have even used some of the hallways in that institution and blocked it up with bars to become makeshift rooms where they can now have different classes. That's what defunding the education sector looks like. So when you have someone here saying that we're young people, we will make sure we get digital jobs for them or jobs for them abroad, but then you look at the kind of, one, infrastructure that exists for education, two, the kind of material that exists for education is a complete mismatch compared to what is needed and required for this generation to exist and survive. So, frankly put, in just one sentence, there is no future these young people are building. It's all it's a lie to make them believe that just because now you have access to a TVET, mind you, I didn't even tell you there are no residence halls. They don't exist in this TVET
At all.
at all. So you'll find someone has been assigned. She's from Mombasa. She did great. She got a C. She's so excited. She's been called by this TVET. It's in Busia County. She travels all the way to Busia County with her mother. They're like, okay, let's see if we can find a place to stay. At least tumeitwa. Wendo wa kwanza kuingia. So they can't find places for this girl to stay. So what do? They move her back to Mombasa. Now you have
Her
no
dream
students.
crashed.
It is crushed. There are no residence halls. There are no places for students to live, because the assumption is that you come from that area, which is a lie. We've seen how now people are looking for opportunity. The people who migrate the most in our country are young people.
Yes. And it's usually, again, in search of opportunity.
Yes.
So I'll ask the next question, because one of the things that people don't understand about defunding education is what the impact of free education did. What free education actually meant, not just for the Gen Z generation, but like for their parents, what free education meant for the dream. I don't want to call it a Kenyan dream, because kusema ukweli tuko kwa nightmare. But like what is how do I frame this? What is the impact of free education? And Diana, I would like you to take this. Like, what is the impact of free education, and why is that not realized? And how do we get to a point where, when we talk about free education, we're not just dreaming about giving students money. or like giving students the resources. How should we restructure or like think about free education in and of itself?
Justine, what free primary education did and does, it did away with a class of Kenyans where you are sure those children will be home, then they'll be on the streets or on farms. They will never step into a classroom. To a situation where even Kenyans who employ casual laborers, if you come with a school-going child during the school term, I will treat you very differently. Like, why is your child not in school? If you recall, it got to a point where even those parents who are resisting, because this was a new concept to them, they are Kenyan parents who give birth to children back then. And then in their mind, because of how costly the education was, they knew, I stay with my children at home, and they start onboarding them onto the manual, the skills they will require to survive. That entire class was wiped out in over 70% of this country. Even in arid areas where you have very, very high instances of malnutrition and so on, it was addressed by free primary education. This year, the budget that is allocated to education is 700 billion. When people come and do the grandstanding, they'll say it's 30% of the national budget. Maybe about the revenue this year that we've collected is about 2.4 trillion, but you can treat the 700 billion as 70 shillings and the 2.4 as 70. So it will also, if you compare it 70% to 240 of the revenue, it still looks very significant. But the bulk of that money, leave alone the teachers, goes to quote unquote infrastructure development.
What does that mean?
It means tenders to construct classrooms of a quote and make profit as the most fundamental resources continue to struggle. It means the failure to prioritize properly. And don't forget that this is a time where we are dealing with defunding in terms of money, defunding ideology of what is our education system, because we're in CBC. Junior secondary school students, most of them who are in public schools, didn't study for close to 18 months. And when they started studying, they were being taught by one or two teachers based on the number of schools we have across the country. Then you're going to decrease that particular amount of money, because as we defund currently secondary school, it means we are getting ready to defund junior secondary school, and we do not even know what our senior secondary schools are. That particular transition from 844 to CBC created an economy for tenderpreneurs.
In what sense? Could you kindly break it down? Because I know you had said something was lost in publishing, because it's like, we're just going to project. But then my sister buys books for her kids, and I'm usually like, umelipa fees. Like, I ask her every time because I see the receipt na inaendelea tu kwenda, and then in the middle of the term the teacher also, like, it's like musical chairs, walisema tuna change kitabu. So every time I have a conversation with her, I'm always panicking, because I'm like, iyo ni ya kitabu tu, like, that's only for the books. What happens to all these others? Like, what does it mean when you made that particular statement? Like, what does that mean? Because I think a lot of people have lost the picture of
the broken down
Yes. Of the tenders, like what do those tenders look like?
Hey, you've even taken me there. No CBC, they withdrew all their textbooks at some point. Then the actual books will be approved in August.
For this year, for this learning year.
Yes.
So
the only people who have books are the teachers. So what the books you bought, most probably we will have to buy them again when the proper books and curriculum are approved. Okay.
And that's just books.
Yes, you've spoken of a sister. We survived on hand-me-downs.
Yes.
They do no longer work. Because whenever it is the opportunity for a new publishing, a whole declaration is made and we have to shift to a new book based on there are some changes.
Yes.
There will be all forms of excuses, but our curriculum is not that complicated. Our teachers are well trained to develop it in properly. Most of the private schools are actually teaching simultaneously either 844 and CBC or an international model and CBC, so that our children will be ready to go out to this world. But there is a second place other than books. There is book tenderpreneurship, but there is JSS. We have created JSS to look like this new concept. We never had schools in this country. We never had structures. So we are building them from scratch. Why are we building from scratch? CBC is 633. 3, the last one. It's the same number. The total is the same as 844. We have built primary schools. We have built secondary schools. We want them to be empty. That is the same thing we did for universities. We decided to create satellite campuses across every village and so on. They couldn't be managed properly. So what have universities done to survive? They have retained their main campuses and let go of their other structures.
Yes.
All the universities that are closing are starting by selling assets that are in Turkana, Angawea, and so on. But in this budget as well, part of what we must construct afresh is TVETs. Why construct TVETs when there are all these satellite campuses? And check the disbursement. The disbursements for those tenders are disbursed on time. We have even changed the system of registering students from NEMIS to KEMIS. National versus Kenya. That's the main change.
Yes. And that could just mean a whole different things for like making logos.
Is it 13 billion?
Yes, it's about 13 million. 13, yes.
Those are things that Nerima can explain, because a system for 13 billion should set exams, should have AI for teaching and things like that. Yes. That is where we are losing the bulk of the money in those types of tenders. And it is even made to look so helpless that the presidency, Ruto, comes and says, oh, now MPs, you need to help us using bursary. Then the following day, Ruto and Raila say, oh, CDF must come to an end. And the minute you say build classrooms, MPs are over the moon, because there is a structure that will have their name and photos for some of them. A number of Kenyans are in court to say that shouldn't happen because this is our taxes. So one, that is where they'll put all their focus. And then the remaining money within CDF, they will ensure that everybody comes with their gumboots, every woman comes with a leso to queue for a check of 3,000 shillings. That is what we are doing by diverting. If we were to use this prudently, Ruben Kigame in his campaign secretariat analyzed and says the cost of free primary and secondary education, when we seal all the leakages, should be about 500 billion. It means the current capitation would be able to cover adequately with proper disbursement, proper negotiation. Because Kenya is the only place where government, one of the many places in Africa maybe, the rest of the world, because of the economies of scale, government goods should be cheaper than private goods when you supply to the government. And payment is also prompt. But in Kenya is where everything that is supplied is ×3 on the lower side. The markups are crazy before we even get to the scandals that the Auditor General has told us.
So I just want us to pivot here to another scandal, because if we're going to talk about education, we're going to be here until tomorrow, because I cannot imagine the amount of money that's being lost. If the entire education system can literally be covered by 500 billion, and with 700 billion capitation, there's still so much struggle because it's a tenderpreneurship. It brings me to the what the Auditor General recently showed, that eCitizen had the Office of the Auditor General revealed that 44.8 billion Kenyan shillings collected through eCitizen digital payments, all the convenience fees, my friends, have, during the 2023-2024 financial year, is unaccounted for. 44 billion. That is a lot of money. And then this report goes on to say a total of 100, I think this is 100 billion, I'm very bad with the numbers, 100 billion inclusive of an amount of 44 billion in respect to the revenue receivers was collected through eCitizen government digital payments. So every single payment that went through that system, 44 billion is unaccounted for. And apparently, they did not maintain proper records. They could not reconcile the revenue collected with the actual transactions, and they submitted unaudited or conflicting figures to the Treasury. So eCitizen structure is mostly private. It's 3 private companies, one that does the USSD code, the other one that does the transfer of the money, handles the transfer of the money, and then the webmasters who control the portal that you use. And these 3 are power still, guys. All these 3 very, very key components of how eCitizen works, all of them across the board, are allowed to dismantle that infrastructure in case that their contract is terminated. That is an actual thing that's in their contract. And I don't know who was writing this contract, but that's people's data. That's Kenyans' data. And if that structure is dismantled because of a disagreement in contract, that means someone could sell that data anywhere. Or it's already being sold because there's no accountability structure. So I'm just going to go directly to this question. How do you fix something like this? How do you fix the accountability of such a critical infrastructure that collects so much revenue with little to no accountability?
I think my response is more radical, honestly. It should have never happened. The fact that we're talking about how Shisha came should have never happened. Yeah, completely illegal. It's crazy, because even when you're talking about data is gold in this day and age. When you're talking about someone, actually, we don't know who, but 3 people, 3 companies that have access to the entire population, really, because it came down our throats like, you must do this, otherwise you won't have access to health. And there was a story done, I don't know if it's a week ago, a few days ago, where there was, it was being highlighted by NTV, where there was a man who was struggling with chemo and saying how he's had cancer, he can't afford to go for his chemo. And then Dwale puts up a post on X and says, this is NHIF. This has nothing to do with SHA. And I'm there like, this is someone who cannot access healthcare. And your main concern is to blame an older system that you bulldozed the rest of us to join into. So for me, it would be, frankly speaking, all these people should be in jail. they should be arrested.
Mm-hmm.
How are we talking about billions unaccounted for that Kenyans are being forced to pay through our salaries, and then you have the audacity to not hold anybody accountable for that? And explaining how this happened. For real, it's amazing that we're still continuing with life, because I even know people who family members are stuck in hospital because they can't afford to remove them. So their bills are just accumulating. And even somewhere NHIF or NAUSHA, whatever, is like, oh, we're not going to be able to pay that particular bill. We're not going to be able to support. But when it comes to contributing, they don't give a damn. They're like, we will take that money by fire, by force.
And they say you have to pay up to a year for SHA for you to access healthcare. And some people are not even earning money.
Yes, and people will pay that amount for a year because they're trying to help a relative. Then they come back and say, oh, we can't because of this reason. So now you have wasted that money in terms of even trying to pay it. So in a long story short, people should be in jail. That is we should just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop with the foolery.
Yeah, it's like a lot of foolery. And Parliament, I'm trying to, MPs, there's two committees, because eCitizen falls under the Security Ministry, the Interior Ministry, sorry. I think the Public Service Ministry and also the ICT Ministry. It's run by whoever ako shifty or siku. It's just like it's being rotated. So it's like two committees, like the Security and National Administration Committee and ICT have initiated investigations into the eCitizen contract that allows them to dismantle it. But what does parliamentary action look for something like this, Diana?
eCitizen is a curse. One, it's that multiple ownership. For what? For what? It is so illegal because all money ought to go to the consolidated fund. How it is going to 3 companies. Imagine even the convenience fee would have been an additional revenue then. We need all the money that we can get, seeing as our leaders borrowed and stole the debt. And now we have to repay. Last year, the Auditor General tabled the fraud of eCitizen early, before we even lost the 40 billion. It was a lower figure before Parliament. That time, the presidency and the chief of staff, that illegal position.
Yes.
Chief of staff is an illegal position, just like the advisor.
Is this government like just going position, like as many different illegal positions as possible? Like right now we're up to like 5.
Yeah. 5.
Yeah, we have.
Your counting is nice.
Wait, there's more?
Yeah, there are 20 advisors.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about all the 20 advisors. Yeah.
Then when the blood-based merger happened, they had to split state departments to appoint public principal secretaries and so on. So it's very many. But when the Attorney General, or the Auditor General, flagged eCitizen, they quickly said, this is political. The Office of the Auditor General is targeting us because we have marshaled all the revenue, okay, that ought to be paid by all government ministries, departments, and agencies. Last year, there was this ridiculous directive that required even comrades in a mess in university to pay for meals through eCitizen. School fees was to be paid through eCitizen. You know, like they must bring all the money together from Kenyans, then steal it more easily. They do not want even to put the labor and effort to steal separately. That way, every accounting officer. The court ruled against that and indicated the money must go to the consolidated funds and it must be held directly by the accounting officer. Kidogo before we even comply, we've lost 44 billion. 44 billion. 44 billion that has been lost is capitation for 1.9 million students. au watajaza kiwanja gani? 1.9 million students. Actually, we just need 1.9 million parents to go back and get our 44 billion. Iwekwe hapa kwa capitation, tuendelee. No arrest, the system is running as usual. Kenya is very recognized for our digital literacy and tech innovation. Yes. Kenyans have no jobs. Youth in Kenya are mocked for being very good hackers, but they're only good hackers because they are also very good creators of systems. Kenyans pushed back during Huduma Number, and the government said they have created a system that is done by Kenyans and run by Kenyans. Why can't we create a system that is run by Kenya, KRA, and all the ministry? Like Nerima said, it should never ever have happened. Parliamentary inquiry should be accompanied by directives. EACC report back. How many people have you arrested? Haya, all the people who hold offices around eCitizen still hold them. If anything, what we have seen is shuttling of officials from the Ministry of Education to Ministry of Interior. Those two systems, Kemis, Nemis, eCitizen, Ipora, kutuibia, they are being shuffled in between. Nobody has, of course, in Kenya, they don't resign. They either die or never resign. But none of them, all of them are in office. First, Parliament holds the mandate of oversight to ask all those cabinet secretaries and principal secretaries to step aside. As they step aside, they ought to have fired all the directors who run that particular system. Because they are the ones who are responsible, we should have frozen their accounts so that they go looking for this money. Instead, I'm sure they are part of the groups together with their relatives who are showcasing the latest model of cars on our social media page. And then they ask, you want me to go and go where? You go to jail.
Yes.
That is what accountability looks like. But Parliament will sit there, eat their sitting allowances, then sit on the scandal. That is not what we signed up for.
I think in this particular moment,
Parliament
of,
is our biggest, is the weakest
It
link
is.
in this entire process.
It really is. I think it's the one arm of government that has just perpetually been broken. It's in a handcast, and like every single regime that comes and goes just kicks it even further down to see how far they can see what they can get away with. And speaking of things that this particular government has been able to get away with, an activist, Mwabili Mwagodi, who was very vocal about stopping church donations by politicians, especially throughout last year during the protests and even after, and encouraging Kenyans to show up, was abducted while he was in Tanzania working. And he was found, I think, in Diani, and he was picked up by a human rights activist who helped him, took him to a hospital. His family was literally on TV asking for him to be brought back. They even went to try and record a statement after Mwabili was found. And what ended up happening was the police refused to record a statement. This is where we're at. And earlier when we were speaking off camera, you had brought up the situation where so many of the youth who were arrested in Kirinyaga and Mwea are still being held in remand with very high bail. Where does this put us in, with Mwabili's situation, where does this put us in a situation regarding human rights? And what does this mean for Kenyans even trying to leave the country? Like, East Africa is no longer about Ujama. It's just, where Jama, be careful. Like, that's where we're at. And also, and also we have like a lot of silence from the foreign ministry.
Yeah.
If it's not silence, it's gaslighting, because that's like the two things that they're getting really good at. And can we even guarantee Kenyan safety? We can't guarantee Kenyan safety in their own houses. And now, are we even able to guarantee Kenyans safety outside? Is foreign policy dead?
Absolutely. So there's a very worrying trend. So even before Mwabili, you know of Bonnie and Agatha, and what we're witnessing is states are tag teaming. They have a playbook where they're like, scratch my back, I scratch yours. Because even before that, remember where Besigye was picked up? It's Nairobi. So you can see, even then, there were activists in Kisumu, Ugandan, who are also picked up and transported to Uganda. And the reason why this playbook is extremely dangerous is that now we can tell that they are friends. Not only are they friends, they are protecting each other from their problems. So here comes Ruto and says, this one is a pain. So because I can't deal with them here, ebu mshike hapo TZ, do something, mwonyeshe mambo. And the reason why this is scary is because Kenya is seen as the country that has some freedoms. You know, you can come speak freely compared to Tanzania, Uganda. You can organize. You have civil society that is more active than other countries. And once you start to see a decline here, it's a worry for the region. In fact, we have intel that it's not just Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania. It's all of them. It's even South Sudan. It's Sudan. It's Congo. It's Rwanda. It's Burundi. And them coming together is a huge concern, especially for the young demographic that we have in this country. Now, number two, what are we seeing internally? We saw government basically calling young people terrorists. Where have we seen that playbook? British with Mau Mau, terrorists, criminals, we don't understand.
Colonial playbook.
Like, it is the colonial playbook.
Like, just write another book. Like, stop being lazy.
The same.
Yeah.
And then we're seeing outrageous charges. Justine, I will tell you, there are people in those cells who were literally picked up because they look Gen Z, who were picked up because they were just at the wrong place at the wrong time. Some, two sisters, were living, having dinner. They were walking back home, picked up. And then their bill is 300,000 shillings. I've not even mentioned to you that there are actually 4 Burundians who are in this mess. Just picked up and saying, you are connected to Sabasaba and June 25th. I know of a lady, her name is literally Bubbles. Her name is Bubbles online. And she's being charged with stealing 130 million worth of goods from Naivas. But how? Someone called Bubbles. 130 million. So
okay, also that's just crazy. Like, Kwani Bubbles has a truck or like a secret warehouse. 130 million worth of goods.
Yeah, we are reading some of those things actually from asking. There's even a case from Naivasha where 20 young people have already been passed through the system without a lawyer. How are they at bail without a lawyer? How did this happen? And so where we're seeing a huge growing concern is that now when the state starts to call its own young citizens terrorists, then manipulating and using the courts to frustrate these young people so that they are too afraid. They want to teach them a lesson that this is what happens when you're vocal, when you come out, and we're going to show you so that you don't become an example to the rest. And what's really concerning is the regions that they have selected, you know, leaning toward Wamunyoro and then saying that these are the troublemakers. But there are representations across the board, but I guarantee you, statistically, from the data we have, 50% of them come from one tribe. I can guarantee you. So you can
see...
So
it's a tribal targeting.
Yeah. So you can see the playbook that they are pushing toward, that they are driving toward, and this cannot become the future of Kenya. Because, you know, these tactics we're talking about with terrorism, they happened before a constitution. Now we have one, but they're acting like it doesn't exist. And then when you're even talking about using terrorism, it also doesn't allow these people to be able to have legal representatives. You basically take their rights from them because of that charge. So it allows them to do whatever they want to these people. And I've not even mentioned how a number of them are minors. How can you have a 14-year-old, 17 in committee? What is that? Mingling with real criminals? Someone who is in school.
And this government has pardoned like very, very hardened criminals. Literally just recently, they were like, oh, this pedo can go free, this rapist can go free, this murderer can go free, but a minor is going to committee.
A minor. So even now, even though some of them were dropped, we had a young boy saying, I can't go back to school. People are asking me where I was, and I'm telling them nilikuwa committee. Now no one wants to, when ni kijana mbaya, when ni mtoto mbaya.
You're being stigmatized.
Stigmatized. You have destroyed this boy's life. For what? He was literally walking home from school. And you've picked him. For what? So those are the cases that we're seeing, and we cannot continue to remain silent because we're actually watching in front of our eyes our rights diminishing and a violation of the Constitution before our eyes. They were doing it with institutions. They did it with judiciary. They are doing it with parliament. They did it with the executive. They are coming for the citizens. They are coming for us directly now. And that is the scariest thing.
That is very scary. So our time is up, unfortunately.
Oh, wow.
But before we go, you've made really, really important points regarding our education system, about our accountability structure, about our legal justice system, and just the rights of everyday Kenyans. And I don't like to end the show on like, Woye tutakufa. I don't like that kind of rhetoric, because I feel like your presence, Diana, and your presence, Nerima, in this particular country speaks to a larger voice of people being like, we're not going to take this lying down. We're going to use the tools that we are equipped with to make sure that our country as it stands right now, and the future of not just ourselves, but our kids and everyone that comes after us is very protected. So I'll ask this as the last question, and this goes to both of you. This is what would you like to see when education is funded? What are the things that you would like to go away, and what would you like that to be replaced with? And how do you encourage Kenyans to dream of that future? I'll go with you, Dan, first.
I look forward to the day when I'll smile about paying tax in this country. Every time I pay tax, I know children from preschool, daycare, to early childhood, primary, junior, senior, whatever, university, and TVET. It's fully funded by government. You can take my salary 70%, but fund education, fund healthcare. It is a workable model. It is something we have aspired for ourselves. That is why Article 53, Article 43 guarantees these socioeconomic rights. We are just retrogressing. That is what I want to see. I want to enjoy paying tax because it's being utilized well. In the meantime, I am praying that the rule of law kicks in, and the same brute force that is being used to arrest people who are speaking up or people who found themselves in the wrong places and they are given bail terms that are higher than capitation will be used on the real thieves, on the real economic terrorists of the Kenyan economy. That never again will we elect leaders who do not give us how much they have filed in KRA returns, how much they own, like a proper comparison. Those wealth declarations must shift to how much they file and how much they take away. You cannot be using all our taxes for free, for political empowerment and stealing, then you come back and you cannot steal from us and tax us, then kill us and lead us. No, it ends now. If you do not have a vote, take it. It is linked to your tax. It is linked to your education. We are changing this country to what we want it to be.
So beautiful.
I know. I
Oh
love
my
it.
God. Yeah. I'm going to go to you.
I just feel like saying what Diana has said. I endorse.
That's a good one. Yeah. That's also very strong.
Yeah.
Yeah. You endorse is it?
No. Okay, but for real,
But that's so much.
Yeah.
You need to speak.
Yes.
But in regards to education, I pray for the day I'm spoiled for choice where my son goes to school in terms of public school. I don't want to avoid public schools. I really hope that I can get to take my son to a public school happily, joyfully, and that's what the Kenya I want. That's the Kenya I want.
That's beautiful. You guys have such beautiful words. Me, I'm going to end on a rather side. I think one of the things that really makes me sad is that at the moment, and this is something I say all the time to my sister, is as it stands, education in this country, elimu ni nguvu ya mfuko. And that's very tragic. No one should be fighting to educate their kid. No one should be asking, it is a eCitizen, pesa iko wapi? No one should be asking their parliamentarian, why don't you know enough about these systems before you pass them? We should stop living in a tenderpreneurship nation. We deserve a country that works, as Diana said. We deserve a country where Nerima's child can walk into any public school and get a beautiful education. We deserve to be in spaces where our future is not determined by the tender that was signed. It's determined by a group of people collectively working together to better not just their now but their future. And I really hope we get there. And if you're one of those thieves, by the way, nikikupata nitakupiga. Okay, sina hiyo nguvu, but still, it's about the vibe. You know, it's about my will to actually make sure that we live in a better country. And I want to thank you, Diana. I want to thank you, Nerima, for coming. Thank you so much to our audience for watching, and good night.